Hey, I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe, please hit like, and please look up and to the left. Or is it down and to the right? Anyway, hope you enjoy this video and my craziness today. So I've got an old Waltham size 16 pocket watch, and the problem with this watch is the guard finger for the pellet fork is broken off, and the stem depth is off, which should be fixable. But first I'm going to reassemble the watch to a great degree, and then we'll deal with the rest. Alright, this watch has been cleaned, but just to confuse you folks, I've got kind of different camera angles all happening here. So this camera right there is a very excellent camera, as you can see, and the best part of the camera is it focuses exceptionally fast, right? So let's just take this stuff out here. I don't think I had anything in the top, so as you can see, right? Because there weren't a lot of parts that I needed to deal with this specific watch, this old Waltham watch. But I do have a lot in these little mini containers, and I have some plates in the bottom here. So I'm going to just move that aside and get a screwdriver out, and I'll take and dump these so I can get on with watch repair. Anyway, so these are the other watch I was working on. You can see on the end of the desk there, and it requires a sweep secondhand, or a secondhand, and I've got to do some goodwill hunting. So I can't just find it on my table, and I got to find out where a pile of second hands might be. I know I have some second hands. I know I have them. So I just don't remember where I put them all. I thought I put them in a certain place. I looked, and they weren't there. So I got to hunt for the red October, hunt for second hands. So I find just dumping these is the best way to do it. That way you know there's nothing left in the container, and you don't have to worry about perhaps leftovers. So you dump the container onto the mat. You're not going to really hurt any parts by doing that. And these are pocket watch parts, not watch parts. So they're probably a little bit bigger and tougher than a watch part, but watch parts are so small, you grab them, I don't think gravity pulls them as hard. I think it's 9.8 meters per second squared for gravity, right? Well, I think in watches it's only 3.2 meters per second squared because they're smaller. Figure that one out and give me all kinds of comments on that. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say I'm full of the old manure, And here's the watch here. And I didn't disassemble the setting mechanisms. I've stopped doing that because I'm worried about breaking springs and stuff. And if you leave the watch, if you leave it to dry for quite a while, then these mechanisms will dry out nicely. No issue at all. And it's if you disassemble them, there is a chance that you'll break them. Especially this little mechanism here that I've taken this apart and taken it out a few times, and this spring has been such a pain right there. And that's this mechanism right here, and that little spring right there is a super big pain. But it's all doable. Again, this is an old Waltham pocket watch. I'm going to have to put my glove on here. It's funny, I'm producing the other movie while I'm making this movie. I'm a movie production crazy genius. So there's nothing I can't do all at once. So there we go. We're looking at, in about 2 months or more, I may end up working part-time, which means I've got more time for watch work, which is really good. So get me relaxed, nice and relaxed, and enjoy life a bit more, but do some watch work. So I've got a gentleman named Jerome who's lent me a part, and he's going to want it back in about 40 years. So I'm going to be doing a transplant a little later on, and I'll make a video of the transplant. So the first thing to do with this watch is to take off the lower balance capsule. This is an old Waltham that I'm hoping to get running because the gentleman who gave it to me said it was for a friend of his, and the friend is quite ill, and he's looking forward to giving this to one of his grandkids. So this is kind of why I do this work. It's not, I like to get paid, of course, but not really for that. So if you were to buy a watch off of eBay and then give it to me to repair, I'd probably say no. So there you go. So it's I got a bit of a big heart, so I tend to do work for people that appreciate it from that perspective. So here I'm just lifting this jewel up. I think I'm going to be able to work on it, or lift it up. There, this is perfect. There we go. Man, this is actually really clean. Unbelievably clean. I was not expecting that. I was expecting this to be full of dirt, but this jewel here is nice and clean. It actually looks like it's in pretty darn good shape as well. So quite pleasing, actually. But there is no oil on that jewel at all. So oil's well that ends well. So we're going to just put a little bit of oil in that jewel and then put the cap back on. That's enough right there. Now, normally I would put the oil on the, maybe breaking rules here, but I put the oil on the cap jewel and flip it over. But, you know, today's a different day, so this time I'm not doing that. So there. So too bad. Yeah, the cap jewel is clean too. It's like this thing has never seen any dirt or something. I'm not sure what the story is here. That is odd, odd, odd. O-O-D. O-D-O. O-D-D-O. That is strange, strange, strange. S-T-R-G-N-E. Just hoping I can just put this back down without any problem. And I took a piece of pegwood here. Look at that. It went in so nicely. Took a piece of pegwood and I just took some material off the base of it so it would just be small enough to get in these holes here, because it seems like it's just a bit too big, which is disappointing. But you know, I had a boss years ago who said that once to somebody, that they were very disappointed. And that is kind of the worst thing as an employer you can say to somebody. If you want your team to leave you, that's what you do. You tell them they're disappointed in them, and they will find another job so fast. I'm going to hold my breath for a second while I put this in. So that's a poor leadership technique if you say, I'm very disappointed in you. So I have never done that to somebody over the years. If they are having a hard time, you help them. If they're non-performers at all, then get rid of them. So, and I think I might want, when I retire, to do a sessions on program management and leadership, as I spent my whole life managing people and problems, and it's all about people when you're trying to perform, right, as you know. So it just doesn't, it's not about, I'm going to do a little oiling on this side while I got it open here. It's all about people, and you need to take care of them because they are the ones doing the work, right? Unless you're a robot. And so, I may just turn that, get my bench key out and give that a bit of a turn. I think I have to get a different bench key out. It's turned anyway. So I was told that when I was a young lieutenant in the Army. He said, keep an eye on your troops. Watch your troops because they are the lifeblood of your unit. And if you behave any other way, then you shouldn't be, oil this too, you shouldn't be working in the military at all. I'm just specking oil down here while I'm down here to make sure that things are good. This watch came out super clean. I'm looking at the jewel holes and stuff, and this and that and this and that. I totally missed the jewel there. I'm going to have to clean that up with a piece of Rodico later on. But leadership is also not easy because you're dealing with humans, not robots. And humans require care and feeding. They can be really good when they're good, and they can be really bad when they're bad. So, as you know, so if you're doing like watch work and stuff, you're pretty independent. We call these type people individual contributors. So you're kind of an individual contributor when you're doing watch work. You're on your own. You're doing what you want to do. No one's bugging you. So really leadership is not necessary when you're doing this stuff. But, and I say this in the least crudest way, leading people to successful outcome is super satisfying. If you can get her done, if you can get that done properly, man, I'm telling you, super satisfying. I got to put this back. This is the mainspring. This is CNN. All right, I'm going to put a little oil in the barrel. I recall doing a watch a long time ago where I had to actually increase the hole size of the barrel because the actual barrel was jamming up the arbor. Jamming up the arbor. It sounds like a song. And I can oil some of this as well. I already put oil where the balance is, which is good. I put oil on the other sides of these things here, these jewels, but I'll oil the top as well. This looks like a new jewel right here. This one right here. That's been put in place. And then I can put the barrel in very carefully. And I think I have to do that first anyway. I have no choice. Pas de choisir. That barrel fits right in there, like that. And the little knobby for the barrel fits in the hole, so I'm hoping that's in there. Let me look again here. I may have pushed it all out again. Yeah, I did. Stupid, stupid, stupid. There's a square part of this barrel that you got to kind of rotate to get it lined up properly. And if you don't, the barrel won't fit. There we go. Then it snaps in place and looks like this. Let me see, can that focus for me? There we go. Looks like that. There's a square part there. And then that all goes down onto this. And if I miss the hole, and it floats up and it doesn't work. So I'm going to be really careful putting it in this time. Make sure it's down there like that, and then just lower it really carefully. There we go. And don't touch it because you'll screw it up. And now I'm putting the pallet fork in last, and the reason why is because I believe I've got to do some work on the pallet fork. What was it I needed to do? The guard finger. So that's the guard finger of the pallet fork. Oh, it's sticking out. That's the funny friggin' thing. So if you look at this pallet fork here, there's the pallet fork. And I show you the guard finger, and you'll see the guard finger is kind of sticking out a little bit on the bottom, sort of right hand side. So I've got to fix that somehow. So we're going to worry about that at the end. I want to get the rest of this watch kind of together, which means I can put all the other gears and stuff in place. And I don't know if I took a picture of this, but I'm going to have to see if I can take a picture of this, or see if I can find a picture and the way the gears go back in place. Well, ladies and germs, I found the photo, thank God, and here you go. So it's progressively from the escape wheel upward to the center wheel. That's how I'm going to put this thing together. And I'll put the pallet fork in last because I got to do some work on it. Alrighty then. So I get the escape wheel first here. Here it is. And this is going to go right here. I think all of the there we go. All of the pinions are facing up. So that's the first wheel. The second wheel would be the fourth wheel. How do you like that? The second wheel is actually the fourth wheel. Does that make any sense at all? Hopefully it does. Just going to feed that in, and then the next wheel is the third wheel. This is pinion up as well. It's funny, this is called the third wheel because the first wheel is the mainspring. So this one is pinion up, rides right above the mainspring barrel, and this one here is the only one that's pinion down of all this wheel train. The wheel train. People gave it these names back in the day. Wonder if it had anything to do with CN Rail. The wheel train. Alright, I need to get my gloves on again. And we're going to put a little bit of oil right here. And a little bit of oil right where the spring hits here. Like that. And we're going to put a little bit of oil right here. And when this turns, it'll just pass the oil to the drum, to the cup on the bottom. So is that annoying enough when I do that? And we're going to put a little bit of oil right there. I had a friend that used to do that during meetings. He'd go, Carrie, you go, I think I need to do it this way. I'm like, holy jeez. We didn't know what was wrong with the guy. But that's what he did. So I think that's all together enough for now. And so now I'm going to put this on. This plate here should just fit over the top like that. Come on, get in there. Don't be a problem plate. Seems to be a problem plate. Let me look down on this and see if there's problems with the problem plate. Oh, there it sort of dropped down. I think it's in place. I think it's in place. So I'm just going to throw some screws in there and see what happens. Screw 1 and screw 2. My wife just took off to drop the kids off. And the youngest one, or the oldest one, it was their 10-year-old birthday today, which is kind of cool. Which means one of us is getting older. And it's amazing. I can get older and the kids get older at the exact same time. Now there's a massive separation between this plate and the stud. So I may have to loosen this up again because I don't think it looks right. I'll loosen this up and see if I can get this in place properly. Alright, so it's down now, which is nice. Nice is better than not nice. The only problem I have is I put a screw down somewhere and I don't know where it is. I hate when I do that. Alright, enough nonsense. I found the screw, it was already in the hole. Oh my God, what are you doing? I think I'm just tired today. And I bring all this stuff down, but don't tighten it. For God's sakes, do not tighten this. Because if you tighten it, you can have other problems. I look at this and I see that this plate is not down, and I think it's because the spring is in the way. The spring is sprung, but regardless of that, I think I want to put this other plate on so that at least I've got all these pieces are where they're supposed to be, right? If you know what I mean. This is a weird plate, the way they built these things. Almost everything almost fits. And what I do here is I usually put a screw in. I do this, I repeat my technique to you guys all the time so you remember, but I put the screw in lightly first, and then I can tweak the wheels to make sure that they're fitting into position. So I think watches are not as hard because watches parts just seem to fall into place, right? So there we go. And I'm not going to screw that down hard. Just put it down lightly. Grab another one, and this will go down lightly as well. Like that. And I'm not screwing it down because I don't want to hurt something. I had a peanut butter and white bread sandwich at lunchtime, which I'm not supposed to have. I had ice cream and I had apple pie. This means I'm going to have to do a bit of a workout this afternoon before I hit the sack. So, the sack! So here's where I just tweak these wheels. I just get in there and I just touch these wheels and tweak them so that they fall into the right plates here. I think one of them is in place here. You can tell whether they're in place by just, you move them around a bit, and if they go up, then they're in place. If they don't go up, then they're not in place. It's pretty simple, actually. I think they're all in place. Not absolutely sure. I'm going to tweak them and then I'll be back. Alright, they're all in place now. And they've been tweaked. Tweaked. Rockin' Robin. Tweak. And just touch the arm here and you can see how loose they all are, and that's what you want. So the end one here looks like it's not as loose as it should be though. This one right on the end looks like it needs to be tweaked again. These ones here are in place, but this end one. I think that's got to be the hardest part about watch repair, is putting these plates back on. Because just when you got one in place, the other one moves. And you don't want to screw them down hard if they're not perfectly in place. Oh, I think I got to play with it a bit more. Pick it up, tweak it, put it down. Pick it up, tweak it, put it down. So I think we're good now. I'll just tighten it just a bit. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of pressure there, and then I'm going to bring this down a bit. funny, the metal just gets stuck sometimes. There we go. Now this one here, this plate here, it looks like it's got the spring in the way. So I can see right there, there's a gap, and the spring right there is in the cap. So I have to move that spring out of the way so the plate will drop. Why that spring decided to be in the way, I don't know. There we go. So I moved it out of the way, and then this dropped, and now there's no longer a gap right there, so it's perfect. Why these things happen, I don't know. Oh my God. Oh my God. So that's not super tight, but tight enough for government work. So now I want to put the ratchet wheel on, which is this wheel right here. It's got a couple of components to it. So the ratchet wheel goes down like that, and this inner ratchet wheel goes in as well. It goes down like this, but over the screw part, because there's a screw right there. So you got to line that up and place it down like this. It's going to be a long video, I apologize. There we go. It goes down just like that. And then I need to find some screws, I think. I know there's a plate that goes on top of here. I just can't find it. Let me see where it might be. There's a couple of other screws too, ratchet wheel screws. There's two of these, one of them's bigger than the other. So I know there's a plate that goes on top of that. And I know it's not this one here. So I have to find that plate. Find that plate. Dig it out. Hopefully there was a plate when I got the watch. Don't know. I have to look at the movement again now. I can also put this third screw in this plate now because everything is in place. The only problem is I'm looking for that upper plate. It couldn't have jumped anywhere, so it's got to be around here somewhere. These things just don't jump. It's got to be around somewhere. There. I'm not tightening these, like I said, until I run the train. And when I run the train, I can tighten it, but I can't run the train without that plate. So this screw here, I believe, is the one that goes in here, like that. But I think I need that plate, folks. Maybe this has to go the other way. Let me look. Let me turn that around and see if I put that in backwards. Let's try to pull this out nicely without and dump it. Yeah, it might go the other way. That might be what's wrong. Let me see. No, they got a rim here. Unless this goes on first and then it goes down with the rim. No? Yes? No? I think no. That makes no sense at all. Yeah, I think the ratchet wheel or the crown wheel goes down like that, and then this goes down after. I'll have to look for that plate because I can't complete the build without that plate, wherever it might be. Like that. Let's go find it. Alright, I found the plate. It was underneath the minute wheel. How that just hid underneath the minute wheel, I do not know. I do not know. It should go on like this, the shiny side up. Let me look at the other side. Yeah, it should go shiny side up. It's bent just a little bit, and I don't know why. I didn't bend it. So maybe the last watchmaker bent it. Darn last watchmaker. Can't trust those guys. So usually it's the bigger screw that you're putting in here. So I'm going to just take a chance on the reading railroad that it is the bigger screw and try to get this screw down. And if it's not, I just flip it over. Yeah, that's right. So this is the bigger screw, and this gets screwed down and compresses, and then this should move freely. like that. There, see that? That moves freely underneath, so it's good. That worked. And then we have to put the ratchet wheel in and just move the click spring out of the way and line this up a little bit and put it down. Like that. Like I've said before, if you're just repairing watches and you're not making videos, then there's not as much effort because you're not explaining things as you're putting things together. So there we go. These screws might be backwards because it looks like this screw fits all the way in here and doesn't cover. It looks like the actual when I screw this down, it looks like this cover is going right over the top, which is not good. So I bet you these screw heads are exactly the same, and one's just bigger than the other. Probably. That's the problem about not taking that picture of the movement before you put it together. You end up with errors. So now this one comes out. I screwed it in tight, but not so tight that it couldn't be removed. So now I can just do the old switcheroo with these screws. Like that. You see how that's conforming a bit better, right? Now, if this works, then we're good to go. Trying to thread that in properly. I'm just going to put it in loosely right now and then put this one in loosely. There we go. And put this one in. And now that's the right sizing. That should be moving, or you should be able to move this. It seems like it's pretty tight in there. I don't like that. Loosen that up a bit. I'm going to get a bench key and very carefully, but not a lot of pressure, turn this. And there's the wheel train spinning away without a problem. So that worked. There we go. I'll just turn that again. Put a little bit of pressure on the mainspring, and the wheel train seems to run. And Chris Spinner said it should run freely and then stop all of a sudden, right? I think there's leftovers here. I think if he's talking about an old pocket watch, maybe it's not going to stop all of a sudden. So that's good. That's done. And now all I need to do is deal with that pallet fork. So I got to go deal with that pallet fork, and I shall be back. So here's the pallet fork issue here. Let me just get that up close here so you can see it. If you can see the dart on that pallet fork sticking out. That's the dart on the bottom right now, and it looks like it's sticking out a bit. So I might be able to just put that in the staking set and then pound it down. I'm not sure whether that'll work or not, but we'll try that to start with. All right, here's the situation. So this is This right here is the dart for the pallet fork opening, and this dart is sticking up a little, but I know if I press down on it, it'll stay down. So what I want to do is align this pallet fork up with a stake on the other side. So if I rotate this over, I've got this aligned with a stake. I can keep it nice and steady, and I'm going to put a little shellac under that dart, and that should hold the dart in place. I put the shellac in and then push the dart down, and that should be a fairly good repair. So I need to center that first. Now I could take this out and then do that, but I just want to have a stake that's big enough to go over the top just to hold that in place. So if I just do a peak to peak centering on this thing. Right there, that's right. That's touching the very end of the pivot. Now I can tighten that up like that. And now I pick a stake out that's flat that'll just hold this down. So here's a flat stake. Now it should go right over here, and I just want to hold that in place while I play with this over here. So you see that stake or that pivot there. I know I can rise that up, or I can push that down rather. But I want to get the world's smallest little piece of shellac right under that before I push it down. And I know I have my famous shellac that Sonny Morehouse inspired me to make. That's the correct wording. So I'll see if I can get a good camera view of this. So here's my shellac right here, and I'm going to just take a bit of shellac out very carefully with the needle I have. So I just open this up. It's nice and thick right now. I'm just going to take just a tad of shellac out of this thing. I don't even know if that's enough. So I just put that. I think I got to put a bit more in there. Yeah, that's not enough shellac. So I'm just going to lift this out of the hole here. And I just try to push that down a bit more. And then put this down again, like that. That's just to steady it as I'm doing this. And then I've got to put a little tiny bit of shellac on the end here. I just have to make sure it's the right amount. You don't want too much and you don't want too little. And this is an experiment on trying to save this little tiny. Alright, so I got a little bit of shellac on the needle here, but it tends to ride up to the top of the needle, which I don't like. So I may use a needle to take some off the needle to put it on the needle. How's that for a lot of needles? See how sharp this is. There we go. So here I'm taking my needle and I'm taking a string of shellac. Now I don't know if any shellac got on there, if that's enough to hold it in place. But I don't have a choice. I need to have that thing stay down. I'm just kind of spreading it with my just kind of spreading it, looking for a screwdriver here. Just kind of spreading it so it can. And I'll strip that shellac off because I don't want it to interfere with the banking pins. So that might do the trick right there. So I have to let that dry overnight. I know I've got a piece of shellac on the edge there I need to remove, but I let that harden and then I can clean it up after. And the question is, will that keep that pin down? That is the question is. Because the reason this watch wasn't working before is because that pin was going up, and that pin going up would cause interference. So I'm just going to lift this up and I'm going to place it in the watch tray again. I'm going to have a look at that and see what it's done. Alright, this is about as close as I can get. You'll see on the back end of this dart I've got a little bit of shellac, but there's no shellac in the front end of the dart. So the thought there is that the shellac will prevent the dart from going down once it's hardened. So that should work. And I also put some on the other side of this as well. So that failing all of that, I need to rivet in another dart. So we're going to try this dart with the shellac trick and let that harden. But I can reinstall it like this without having to worry about it being hard because it's kind of floating there, so it's not a big deal. Alright, now we're going to put the pallet fork back in. The shellac is not going to be dry until probably tomorrow, so I'm not going to complete this watch today because I want to make sure that shellac is nice and dry. So what I want to do though before I put the pallet fork in is I want to get my very nice and very good Mobius 9415. This is kind of a lubricant. Can barely read it now, but that will lubricate the stones on the pallet fork, and it is so friggin' good stuff. I am super impressed by its quality. I'm just going to do it in place right here. There we go. So now that lubricant is in place. Put that back. It's kind of a gel that's a consistency of, I think, pudding, maybe. And I'm just having a look at this pallet fork to make sure there's no residual issues here with it. And I might be able to just get a little bit closer as I do this. I don't want to just knock my head on the camera here. But if I have to, I do. So just put that pallet fork down here between the banking pins. There we go. Pivot is in place. It's not easy to put that in. Now I just lower the bridge here, and that's just going to go straight down on that. I can hold it probably with one of the screws here, or one of the holes for the screws. And just go underneath like that and drop the bridge down. just like that. There we go. Now I got to make sure the pallet fork is on the inside of that bridge. And there we go. You kind of just have to play with it until it's in place. That's good there. And now I got 2 screws I got to put back in very carefully. And these are small screws, so I'm likely going to need the white or yellow screwdriver here. I'll go for yellow this time. And I want to make sure, I'm going to use 2 sets of tweezers here because I want to make sure the bridge stays down while I put the screw in place. So I just need to put 1 in first to make sure it's in there good. And I grab one of these screws, hold that down. I'll put this one in. See how wide this is? Yeah, that might work. That's a black screwdriver, and they're all color coded, by the way, so if you have a screwdriver set, your black screwdriver is the exact same size as my black screwdriver. So you just grab this one here and just put this in place. Alright, I dropped it inside the movement. I don't want to do that. Just very carefully grab that out. It's probably easier for me to dump that than try to get it out with my screwdriver. So I just turn the movement upside down and dump the screw out. Haven't done that for a while. It's a rarity for me to do something like that. There we go. That went in. Now I just have to tighten that screw. And move that back a bit. And then get in there and tighten that. The first screw is holding the bridge down, so I'm not too concerned. So before I tighten that, I just want to make sure it moves freely, and it does. And you just check and see that that bridge is flush with the actual metal on the base of this movement. And then you know it's not going anywhere, right? So that's good there. All right. So now I want to make sure that all of these screws are tight because I do not want this thing to jiggle, move around. I think that I already did that, so, but I'll just do it again here. That's good there. It wasn't tight yet. That's good there. It's good there. It's good there. And last one. That's good there. And then take a piece of pegwood and put a little bit of pressure here like this, just to make sure everything kind of still moves. It does. And now I'm going to put a little bit of a wind on the mainspring. We'll push that in. Make sure I get the right winder here. Push that in and then just put a little bit of a wind on the mainspring here. Like that. And now let's see if this flicks back and forth. And it does. It does it nicely. So as you can see. So if you look at that and you look at the pallet fork and you just put a little bit of pressure on the side of the pallet fork. It should just snap back and forth with the banking pins. So that works. So that's good. Now what I don't want to do is I don't want to put the balance in yet. I want to make sure that that shellac is dried so that the dart for the pallet fork is not going to move. It's nicely in place right now. I just don't want it moving at all. So we'll let it sit like this, and we'll reassemble this a little bit later. So thanks a lot, JD, again. Thanks for watching my meticulous watchmaking. This is a very nice old movement. It's together now, and it seems like it's got some good snap on the pallet fork, which means that the balance should be flinging back and forth nicely. So again, thanks for watching my video. I'll put this one up as well, and you guys can enjoy the assembly. This could be a part 1 as well for the old Waltham pocket watch.